Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be doing some block preparation today. Now I've already gotten the oil cooler assembly and everything off of here. I took it off because it was going to be in the way. There's a lot of videos on this. Um, However, getting all this off is just bolts. There's nothing special about this. Getting the oil cooler out of the housing, not a big deal. However, we're going to have a video specifically on installing the IPR kit on this, so look for that coming up. However, we've cleaned the top of this off, got all the gunk off the top of this engine, and now we're going to work on getting the block surface cleaned and then also make sure that it's flat. Now, to do that, it requires a couple specialty tools. Guys will do it the backyard way and use like a 2x4 or whatever, but we're going to do this a little differently. So we're going to use a sharpening stone and a lapping plate. But before we do that, I'm going to clean all of the old material off the face of this. And that would be why we have the paper towels down in the cylinders here, because we are not removing the bottom end at all, so to speak. We're not going to be taking the pistons out. We're not taking any bearings out. I'm not too concerned about the coolant passages or the oil passages because we're going to flush those out once we're all done. Now we'll use a solvent, and then once we spray everything out and solvent it all out, we'll put a nice coating of oil down everything to make sure we don't have any corrosion issues, because this motor might be sitting open for a little bit yet. And once we do get all that done, when we're ready to put the heads on, we can wipe the surface nice and clean and not have to worry about any corrosion on it. So oil is your friend here. So what we're going to start with is we're going to clean this block up. We're going to get all of the majority of the material off here, like the old gasket material, any grime that's on here. And once we do that, then we can step over to the lapping plate. Now, before you start messing with the lapping plate and the sanding stone or the sharpening stone, you need to make sure that everything is in sync, so to speak. So I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll go ahead and move on with this and hopefully get this nice and flat. So we have a green bristle brush here. So this is what we're going to use to clean this material off of here, and we're just going to take our time with it. We don't need to be going crazy with it. Just want to get this nice and clean. You can see I started doing that up here, and we still have to clean this off some more, but it gets the majority of the gasket and any grime off, and then we'll wipe this clean, and then we'll start over with our plate and stone and make sure that this is nice and flat. So we've got the majority of this off of here. There's still a little bit of grime down here in the bottom here. So we just got to do a little bit more. So you can see how this is nice and shiny here. And basically what we're trying to do is get all this dirt off with this guy. And this will take some time. So we're going to go ahead and kind of fast forward through this process and get this nice and clean, because we don't need to be filling up our sanding stone with garbage from the old gasket. So we got our block cleaned up. So all that did was take all the material off, not necessarily steel. All it did was take out gaskets, corrosion, anything like that from the coolant or the gasket itself, or any leftover residual waste from the gasket or its materials. Does not harm the block. However, it doesn't finish it the way I want it to be finished. Now, a lot of guys will go through with that green bristle brush, clean these off, and call it a day. So we want to make sure that this surface is perfectly flat. So we have a lapping plate here. Now we also have a stone. So I have flattened out this side of this stone, and we need to flatten out the other side. So this is a 120 and 240 grit stone, and I'm not quite sure which side is which. The only way we're going to find that out, because they don't tell you, is to use the stone and see which one is doing a better job as far as the sanding scratches. But we need to level this out. So you put it on the plate and basically you just back and forth. And you let the plate do the work. You don't need to put a lot of pressure on it. So I didn't do this side, so we'll start with this side. You can see that there's a light spot and a dark spot. So we're flattening out this stone, and we're going to use this to flatten out our block. So you can see we are still working in the middle here. We're still trying to get these outside edges down to the same flatness. So you can still see we're working out stone, trying to get this flattened out. You can see we're getting a little bit wider of a light spot there, so we're going to keep on going here. Getting a little better. So we're nice and flat on this side, not so much over here. So what I'm actually going to do is flip this stone around. You can see we're a little bit more here. So almost. So we have this stone flat now. And you can see how much material we took off of there to make this stone perfectly flat. Now, we are going to take this stone and we're going to use it on the block. So we have our stone here. Our lighter side is going to be our 120 grit. Our darker side is going to be our 240 grit. And essentially what you want to do is you want to go across this like this. Okay? You're trying to make sure that you are going to be doing the whole surface and then every once in a while flip around. Now you want to make sure that you keep even pressure on this. So that's the idea here. So you want to make sure that this is nice and even across the block here. Now you can see where we're taking material off. So every so often we need to stop and clean this stone again. So I'm going to clean this stone off, and we're going to use the lapping plate. And you can see now how the surface of the block has now changed, and we're starting to get machining marks back out that were high spots whenever this was originally machined. So a couple times over the lapping plate, and we got a clean surface again. So you can see we're getting more surface area here, and we're starting to wear the top here also. So this actually is not the same plane as this according to the stone. As you can see, we're not getting into the cylinders yet. So we're mainly focused on the top and the bottom here with this stone. Now you don't want to go like this. That's a bad thing. You want to keep this perfectly flat across the whole surface. If you could go up and down like this, if you had a stone that was the length of the block. So you can see we are still focused on the top and bottom of the block here. We're starting to get a little bit into the middle here. So we're just going to keep doing this. This is going to take some time. So I'm going to skip and just get this cleaned up a little bit more and show you a little bit more a little bit later. So I've been working on this for a while now. You can start to see we're getting a little bit of a couple shiny spots here. The shiny spot is getting much, much larger down here. And this is all nice and flat now. And we're going to have a lot of cleanup to do. I'm not too concerned about it because we'll get it cleaned up. And we're replacing all of this anyway. So I'm not worried about that. But that's why this is all in place, because we want as little as going down here as possible. We're removing the branch tube. We'll be cleaning it out. And we're just going to keep working on this. Now, I have changed the sides on this a few times, but it seems like the white side cuts a little bit better. So I've just been going to town. So you can see we still aren't getting a whole lot in the middle yet, but these dark areas are getting bigger. So we're slowly working our way down into the middle. Every so often, make sure you clean your stone, make sure you're nice and flat again, and then just continue. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you get all the way to the ends, because you don't want to get halfway across and come back, or even 3/4 of the way or whatever, because you're trying to make this flat all the way across. So every time you go across, that's one pass, and that's material. Same back. So just back and forth and back and forth. And you can see we have a lot of material coming off the bottom, a lot of material coming off the top, not a whole lot of material coming out of the middle here. So this is where this takes time. Now we're doing this because obviously there's a little bit of a belly in this block. And the only way to get rid of it is to have something truly flat. And if you're concerned about your square or true, you can check it. Okay. Now, if we do this, there isn't much there that's out. We definitely do have a little bit that's not perfectly flat here. So we really need to focus on getting this thing flat so that we get a nice, good seal here. So you can start to see that we're starting to get some sanding changes here. It's pretty crazy how much it takes to get these blocks down. We're getting there. It's just taking some time. So just going to keep on going until we have everything looking uniform. So I've been into this for about an hour now, and you can see we still have a lot to go, but we're getting there. So I'm going to keep sanding away, because this is about the only way that you can really get a nice, perfectly smooth finish without a machine shop. And I don't want to tear this all the way down to take it to a machine shop, because it doesn't need that kind of work. So this is going to take some time, but we're just going to keep plugging away at it. So you can see we have a little bit of deviations here in the surface here. Now, I need to get a better straight edge. However, the straight edge that I currently have is just a typical framing square here. But it's not totally perfect here, but it's very close. I'm going to check this with a normal straight edge again later. However, I have a 3/1000th shim here. It's like paper, and you can see that it stops. So the worst part of the area is right here. So we're going to check it. You can see that it kind of wants to go under. Goes under very, very little right here. So we might have to sand this a little bit more. And then our next worst spot is right here. And it doesn't go under at all. It's right on the edge of the hole there. So 2 to 3/1000 is basically what you want. So we are under 3/1000 because we're using a 3/1000 shim here. 3/1000 shim, you can see 003 there. And it doesn't fit under the square anywhere. And if anything, it would barely get underneath here, but it doesn't fit underneath it freely where you can just slide it in and out without any problems. So if anything, this is maybe between 2 and 3/1000 here and under 3/1000 everywhere else. So that's what we're looking for. Obviously, if you could get a 0 the whole way across, that's what you want. However, it's unrealistic because now we're taking another 3/1000 at least off the rest of this surface. And we don't want to go too crazy with it because then we have to worry about piston protrusion. So 2 to 3/1000 is your spec for this. That would work very well. Like I said, we're using an O-ring head and we're using the multi-layer steel gaskets, so we will not have any issues with this. So the only thing that we have to do now is we have to clean this out. Now, how am I going to clean this out? With brake cleaner. Realistically, I'm going to turn the engine upside down and spray that side and let it clean out and drip out. And then once we get that nice and clean, I'll rotate the engine over a little bit and spray the cylinders out, make sure none of that dirt gets down in the rings. So that's where we're just going to turn this thing down on its side, spray up in the cylinders, make sure that they're nice and clean, and rotate the engine a little bit, make sure they're nice and clean, and then blow air through there. And then what we'll do is we'll put oil on it and we'll re-oil everything. And then once we do that, we can actually take and cover that side, that we don't have to worry about that side anymore. But we still have to do this side here. So I'm not going to video that because it literally took me probably 3 hours or 4 hours to just do this one other side. So this is definitely a time-consuming project. So if you want to be doing this yourself, make sure you allot yourself the time to do this and do it correctly. Like I said, I don't have my straight edge here. The square is okay, but a perfect straight edge is what you really want to use because that square could be marked or nicked and giving you a false reading. So, like if I put it on there a certain way, it'll give me a false reading because there's a nick in the one side, but I knew where it is, so I didn't use it, that area of the square. So make sure if you're doing this, use a straight edge and make sure that you do this properly, follow the steps. You can see that there's a lot of material everywhere, so we got a lot of cleaning to do here. And I was aware of the cleaning that we would have to do when I started this project. But if you were to just clean that surface off, like we have over here, we don't have the surface cleaned yet, but I put the square on here and there was 5 thousandths difference in a couple spots. So the 5 thousandths is unacceptable, you know, so we're going to be taking at least 2 thousandths off the deck of this block to get it into an acceptable parameter on this side. Once we clean everything off, we'll check it again and see exactly how bad it is. So we're going to do this side another day, but right now we're just going to go ahead and get this side all cleaned up. So I wanted to show you the stone and the lapping plate here, and you can see that it still gets dirty, but this is the material that we took off the stone. You can see how deep that is. So there's a lot of material that we took off of here. This is the stone and steel and everything else. It's very, very fine. It's almost like baby powder. That's how fine that is. But the plate did a nice job of keeping the stone true. So if you're going to be doing this, this is a worthwhile investment. It just takes time to get the block cleaned up the way that it needs to be. And I would love to go a little bit farther on this, but this is good and will work. It's not good enough, it's good. So it's never going to be perfect. You're dealing with an imperfect surface here. You'll never ever get it perfect unless you take it to a machine shop that is going to do this perfect for you, and even then they may not get it perfect still. So we're going to go ahead, flip this thing down, and get it cleaned out. So we've got this all clean. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of oil in these cylinders, but I may end up spinning this around a little bit to see what it does. So there's a little bit of sediment in here. It's not bad at all. Just going to get that wiped out, and I'll probably end up blowing this out with compressed air. So we'll get some air, and we'll blow this out, and then we'll apply a nice light coating of oil to this whole surface and down in the cylinders and everything. So we got that all blown out of there. It's fairly clean. I don't see any more debris really in there, just a little bit of oil. And I think we'll be okay. So I could flip this back over and spray the inside of those cylinders out again, which I may do just for peace of mind and just to make myself feel better. But realistically, now we can put some oil on here and get this prepared to not corrode. So that's the idea here. The last thing we need to do is chase all the threads in the block. Now, doing that, you need a tap and a tap. So these are supposed to be thread chasers, not taps, but they look like taps to me. So we just need to go down and basically just clean the threads up in these. And you can add a little bit of oil to this to make this a lot nicer, a lot easier. It helps keep the taps alive here. So we'll put a little bit of oil in every one of these holes. Now the oil overflowed out of this hole and it is filthy dirty. So this is why you tap these holes or actually thread chase them. Make sure that you have good clean threads, and then we'll clean them out again when we're done. So we're done with this one here. So I don't know how well you can hear this, so I'm going to try to get this close so you can listen. That's all dirt that's inside that head in the threads. So you can see how much extra dirt is on there. It's not much, but you can kind of tell that there's dirt and grime and stuff and it's oil and everything else. So now that we've done that, we'll turn it back over and clean it out again. So we've got all of our threads chased here, and we got the block all nice and clean. We're just going to give it a quick wipe and make sure that it's nice and clean, and then we'll put oil back on this so that it doesn't get any rust or corrosion in anything. We definitely don't want corrosion inside the cylinders. We'll wipe everything down before we put the head and the gasket on, but for now this is going to get oiled because this is now ready to technically install. So now I've got this wiped off and we're ready for oil. Now that it's all dirty again, it won't rust. So that was the idea behind the oil, because we still have to do the other side. And I'm going to put a piece of plastic on here to cover this up, and then we can clean it out again when we're ready to put everything back together. And we'll spray some possibly some assembly lube just all inside, and just an aerosol, just to give it some kind of lubrication that we don't have to wipe it with a towel. So we're going to end up cleaning it again, but for now this is going to keep everything from corroding, and get this all prepared for a new gasket and a new head and studs. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the videos on the '08 van and the 6-liter Powerstroke. So hopefully this will help you guys to do your own head install, as far as checking everything, surfacing the block correctly, making sure that you're within tolerance, and getting everything ready so that you don't have to do it again. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.